People aren't really that bad, are they? Well, let's see what the Bible says. Number one, our condition is confirmed. Proverbs 16, verse 2. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the spirits. It is a fact. It is a fact. In our natural state, all our ways are clean in our own eyes. Again, we can sit there and say, no, I didn't feel that way. Then you're arguing with the God of the Bible who is trying to declare us about ourselves. He's declaring to us who we are and what we are. He wants us to know this is how bad it was. Psalm 143, verse 2. Do not enter into your judgment and into judgment with your servant, for in your sight no one living is righteous. Psalm 130, verse 3, David says, if you, Lord, should mark iniquities, oh Lord, who could stand? If God decided to start just pointing out iniquities, who could stand? Well, guess what? God does, and he has. In Jeremiah, look at this little comparison here. Jeremiah 2, verse 22. Here's the one over here. If you, Lord, should mark iniquities, O Lord, who could stand? Jeremiah, for though you wash yourself with lye and use much soap, yet your iniquity is marked before me. He's done it. He has marked iniquity. And David says, who could stand? No one can stand before God. Nobody. They cannot stand before God regardless of how many righteous deeds they have done, because we know that all their righteous deeds are filthy rags. Well, you remember this phrase, I'm doing the best that I can. Has anybody ever said that? I mean, seriously, about our Christianity. I'm doing the best that I can. I think that's probably one of the biggest problems with people today. Jesus said, apart from me, you can do nothing. I'm doing the best that I can. Whereas Paul says in Philippians 4, I can do all things what? Through Christ who strengthens me. I'm doing the best I can. Psalm 39, verse 5. Indeed, you have made my days as a handbreadth, and my ages as nothing before you. Certainly every man, look at his best state is what? Vanity. A vapor. A mist. That's what God says about us. You at your best state, you're a vapor. I promise to be your faithful and loving husband. Psalm 5, verse 9. There is no faithfulness in their mouth. Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open grave, and they flatter with their tongue. It's our nature. Apart from Christ, it's who we are. It's not just what we do, it's who we are. Well, secondly, our condition is conceived. Some people think, well, they like to believe in sort of this age of accountability. The problem with that doctrine is that it basically states that you're okay until you get to a certain age. Let's see what the Bible says. Let's compare all these things with what the Bible says. What an innocent little baby. It's easy to look at babies that way, isn't it? I know. I mean, we see babies and they're beautiful to me. I remember looking at Truman and Austin, and I looked at them and they were beautiful. But there were those times, and they were not few and far between, that I looked at those babies and I said, oh, they've inherited my nature. Rats. Psalm 58, verses 3 through 5. Listen to this, boys. Listen. The wicked are estranged from the womb as soon as they are born, speaking lies. They go astray. Their poison is talking about a baby. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. Paul quoted this in Romans chapter 3. Paul said it's true. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They're like the deaf adder that stops her ear, which will not listen to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. You know, I got this picture of this guy going, and you know, a snake going, you know, you can't charm me. And that's the way babies are. And that's why there has to be such radical correction in the life of a baby. Believe me, I know. With me. It's just that my parents didn't quite do it enough. My kids never really got into trouble. You know, you hear this all the time. Oh man, the older generation, not to pick on the older generation, but the older generation a lot of times are the ones most guilty of this, because we grow up and we look back at the generation that's, that's newer, and we say, man, I can't believe they're doing those things. We never did that as a kid. Come on. How many of us have ever said that? I've said it. How many of you have ever said, we never used to do things? Oh, no hands. No hands. Well, let's see what the Bible says, okay? Job 14. Man who is born of a woman is of few days and full of trouble only in the 21st century. No, that's not what it says. This was written. Some people say that Job was one of the oldest books in the Bible. This was written at least 2,000 years before Jesus Christ. Job says, man who is born of a woman is of few days and full of trouble. He comes forth like a flower and fades away. He flees like a shadow and does not continue. And do you open your eyes on such a one and bring me into judgment with yourself? Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? No one. You hear it all the time. I don't want to go to church. I got to clean up my life first. You can't. You cannot clean up your life. You can't do it. That's why Jesus said to the Pharisees, and he said to them that which was impossible. He said to the Pharisees, who are the most righteous outwardly, you are whitewashed graves filled with dead men's bones. You've cleaned the outside of the cup. He says, clean first that which is inside. Try and clean your inside. That's what Jesus commanded. Clean your inside. He told them to do the impossible because we cannot clean our own heart.